So I meant to make this video yesterday, but didn't end up doing so as I had family round for my 22nd birthday. God damn, I feel old. But the topic of this video is going to be some of the things that have gone on with a completely different fan game for a completely different series. And for those of you that follow me on Twitter, you will already know that this is TimeSplitters Rewind. I'm calling it a fan game because it's not being developed by a company. While Crytek have given the team the rights to use the name TimeSplitters, I'll get onto that later, it is still being developed by fans in the sense of a traditional fan game. Now the main topic I want to cover here is engines. The reason for this being that on the 10th of July they posted a small update which talked about how they weren't happy with how CryEngine was working. They felt they couldn't get things done in an efficient time frame, and they built a prototype in another engine, Unreal Engine 4, which they had a lot better of a time with. The problem here being that if they were to use Unreal Engine, Crytek would redact the license to the TimeSplitters IP. Crytek, of course, being the makers of CryEngine, want their engine to be used for this project. And it makes sense, they do own the engine, they own the rights to the game. If a game like this, which became a big hit and played on the nostalgia of gamers like myself and other people that grew up playing original Xbox and PlayStation 2 games, because if you owned a PlayStation 2 or an original Xbox, you probably played TimeSplitters in some way, shape or form. And it would be a big push for their engine, which does not get a lot of good press when it comes to smaller teams. And this is justified. The documentation for CryEngine is unfriendly. It's not very nice. There's not very many smaller team features that engines like Unity and Unreal Engine have. Their pipeline as far as programming goes is, well, it's raw. You write C++ and that's it. There's not a great deal of API overhead and there's not a great deal of integration into the engine itself. You're more writing pure C++ classes. And while this does give advanced programmers a hell of a lot of headroom to build just about anything they want, it does mean that building prototypes and building mechanics takes a lot longer in CryEngine than it would in, say, Unreal Engine. For example, you could build something similar to TimeSplitters in terms of the character in a few minutes in Unreal Engine, where in CryEngine you would have to sort out the movement, the physics, gravity, all that sort of thing. Now, while I haven't done extensive work with CryEngine, I have done extensive work with Unreal Engine, and I would love to see the Unreal Engine build that these guys have done, so I could at least try and give them a little bit of my insight as to how the engine works and how they could go about bringing things into CryEngine, because at the end of the day, they are going to have to stick with CryEngine. The TimeSplitters brand is what makes this fan game what it is. A game that plays exactly like TimeSplitters while being fun, and it has the potential to be a fantastic game, but without the TimeSplitters branding, it won't get anywhere near as much traction as it would with the branding. And it's kind of a shame that the publisher is holding back the team by forcing them to use their own engine, which the team is obviously not as comfortable with as they would be with Unreal Engine. But again, from a business standpoint, it does make sense, and unfortunately, the way fan games go, adhering to the publisher's wills is a given. It's something that has to happen. It's like a law when it comes to fan games. Now, they did afterwards put up another post redacting some of their statements, or at least, I don't want to use the term damage control, but slight damage control. It looks, at first glance, that this second post, their latest post, posted on the 19th of July 2017, was made due to some contact from Crytek. It seems like a very backpedaling statement. I don't have any proof for this, I haven't asked, I don't intend to ask because it's personal. But from an outsider's perspective, it looks like the publisher stepped in and said, okay, you can't badmouth us and our engine on your webpage. Again, I understand this. Crytek, of course, don't want to be seen in a negative light, but at the end of the day, it should be about the game. It shouldn't be about politics or engines or business. This is a fan game. These are fans dedicating their free time, accepting no money, other than to keep server costs going, to build a game in a franchise and to a style that they love. It's the same with Halo fan games, it's the same for Jet Set Radio fan games, it's the same for any fan game. People make games that they want, because the publishers or the developers don't want to take the risks, or don't think that the IP is justified anymore, and they are just creating experiences that they themselves want to play. And it is a shame to see this bureaucracy creep into fan games, but like I keep saying, it does make sense, as the owners of the copyright hold all the cards. I do wish best of luck to the TimeSplitters Rewind team. I am super excited to see what they come up with. TimeSplitters has been a very influential game in my younger years. I used to play a lot of split-screen TimeSplitters co-op with my cousin and other family members on their PlayStation, and then I bought TimeSplitters Future Perfect for my original Xbox, and it basically consumed a good chunk of my childhood, and was one of the games that really pushed me into loving shooters. For those of you wondering what this gameplay is in the background, it's not TimeSplitters Rewind. It's a very, very early build of TimeSplitters 2 for the PlayStation 2. I got this from an official PlayStation Magazine demo disc that was incredibly difficult to find, and now that it's been ripped and I have the ISO file, hopefully other people will get a chance to experience this build, and people like myself that are interested in how the games have changed throughout their development can have a look at this and be as interested as I am. With that said, what are your guys' thoughts on publishers limiting engine choice for fan games and user-created games? Do you agree with Crytek, or do you think that the developers should be allowed to choose whatever engine suits them best, so they can create the best experience for everyone? Let me know in the comment section down below, and remember, stay classy.